We talked a little bit about percents in the last lesson, but I just want to look at a question like this. It says 75% of 50 is which one of these? Is it 50? Is it bigger than 50? Is it less than 50? Before we address this, let's look at something. Here we go. If Todd did 100% of his project, how much more does he have to do to finish it? Well, if you do 100% of something, well, let's go to a test. If you get 100% of your test correct, how many questions did you get correct? All of it. 100% means the whole thing, okay? So if Todd did 100% of his project, he has nothing left to finish it. He is done, okay? So he's done. That's number one. Okay, if Michelle works 40 hours a week and she has completed 50% of her hours, how many hours has she completed? Well, here's the deal. She works 40 hours the entire week and she's completed 50% already. Well, what does 50% really mean? Well, let's think about what 100% means. 100% means the whole thing. From our last lesson, we understand that 50% is half of that. So 50% means half of her hours. If Michelle works 40 hours a week and she completed 50%, she has completed half of those hours. So she has completed 20 hours, half of 40. Right? That makes sense. So let's think about what we're saying. 100% is the whole thing. 50% is half. Half of the thing. I'll just put half. Okay, now here's the deal. 75% then has to be somewhere in the middle of this, correct? Well, 75% of 50, can it be 50? No, because 100% of 50 is 50. So it cannot be 50. It also can't be greater than 50, because to be greater than 50, it's got to be more than 100%. So it's got to be a number less than 50, because 100% of 50 is 50. 100% of 50 equals 50. So therefore, this has to be a number less than 50. Let's kind of summarize this. On the key fact in your workbook, it says 100% of a number is equal to the number. A percent greater than 100%, maybe 200%, okay, is greater than the original number. And a percent less than 100% is less than the original number. So for instance, 75% has to be less than 50, because 100% of 50 is the entire number. I hope that makes sense. Take a look at the percent shortcuts. They're in your workbook. 200% of a number is 2 times the number, because 100% is the whole number. 200 is twice that, so it's 2 times that number. 100% we already said is the whole thing. 50% we already said is half of it. 25%. If you have 25%, that's really a quarter of it. Let's think about why. You already know that percent means out of 100. So 25% means 25 out of 100, which reduces to 25 goes into 25 once, 25 goes into 100 4 times. So it's 1/4 of it. 10% of a number is 1/10 of the number. 10%, we know this already. 10% is 10 out of 100, which reduces to 1/10. So hopefully these shortcuts should make sense. 1% is 1/100th of the number. Okay? So let's use these shortcuts to do the following problems. Here we go. 1, 400%. We want 400% of 36. Remember we said 100% is the whole number. So 400% is 4 times the number. So it's 4 times 36, which is 144. So 400% of 36 is 144. I'm not even going to write the next one down. The next one is 100% of 36. If you have 100% of 36, it means you have all of 36, which is 36. Okay? Number 3. Number 3 is 50% of 36. We said that meant half of 36. That meant 1/2 of 36. 1/2 of 36 is 18. It means to either divide by 2. That's actually what it means. Even if you multiply by 1/2, you're still dividing by 2. Watch, just make sure we understand that. Of means to multiply. 36, you're dividing by 2. Okay? So that's what that meant to do. So 36 divided by 2 is 18. 10% of the number. On the shortcut, it said, oh, sorry, I skipped 25%. Let me go back. 25% of 36. We said that meant 1/4 of the number. 1/4 of the number, remember, means to divide by 4, which is 9. So 25% of 36 is 9, because 25% is 1/4. 25 over 100 reduces to 1/4. We showed you that a second ago. 10% of the number. And we showed you this a second ago. Number 5, 10% of 36. 10% of 36 means 1/10 of the number. Think about what that means. That means to take 36 and divide it by 10. When you divide by a power of 10, bigger than 1, you move the decimal to the left 1 place. So that is 3.6. Okay? And let's look at 5%. Well, I don't think you had a little shortcut for 5%, but 5% of 36 is half of 10% of 36. Okay, so it would be half of that, but let me show you why. 5% is 5 over 100, okay, which reduces to 1/20th. It's 1/20th of 36, which is 36 divided by 20. So instead of dividing by 10, you're dividing by twice as much. So 36 divided by 20 will be, it's going to, well, let me do it for you. It's going to be half of that. 20 goes into 36 once. 20 goes into 168 times. So it is 1.8. 1.8, which is half of that. Because 5% is going to be half of 10%. Okay? Kind of makes sense? Number 7, last one. 1% is 1/100th of the number. Okay? Because it's 1 over 100 times 36. Which is 36 divided by 100, means you take the decimal and you move it 2 places, because there's 2 zeros, 2 places to the left, which is 0.36. So those are the shortcuts. Okay, let's put these into symbols, and they're really simple to do that. So here's the is, just like before, write down the equal, and it says what number? Well, what number? I have no idea. So I'm going to start with an X. 90%. If you remember from our last lesson, decimal to percent, if you have a percent, I'm going to want to go to a decimal, okay? Now we'll talk about why I want to change this to a decimal. I have to take the decimal point and move it percent to decimal, move it 2 places to the left, because we're dividing by 100. So this is 90%, which is 0.90. Of tells me to multiply, 0.045. I have to change the percent to decimals or to fractions to be able to use them. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply that. I know it's, I'll tell you what, let's keep this in symbols here, guys, because it says do not solve, but I'm going to do these two, put them in symbols, then I'm going to solve them both, because I'm going to ask you to do that anyway. So let's take a look at this. So that's it in symbols. That's all you wanted for that answer. Okay, here we go. 18 is, there's the is, 4.5%. Be really, 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 really careful here, because 1/2, you know, is 0.5, so this is 4.5, but it's still a percent. Okay, now to change a decimal to a, a percent to a decimal, I have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. So I'm going to have to add a 0. So it's 0.045. Of tells me to multiply what number? So that's x. Okay, so 18 equals 0.045x. You don't really need the dot there, so I would write it as 18 equals 0.045x. That's your answer to those questions in your workbook, just putting it into symbols. But on the next page of your workbook, or beneath that, I'm not exactly sure where it is, it asks you to solve them. So I'm going to solve them. To solve this, so this is your answer to that, just without solving, but now this is the solving. I'm just going to multiply this. X equals this times this. So here we go. If I multiply this times this, I get 0.0405. No, I didn't do that in my head. I did cheat, because I've done this problem already. But at this point, you should know how to multiply. If you have a problem getting that, let me know, or let your instructor know, and we'll come over and help you. Okay, so that's the answer for that problem. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this problem. To solve this problem, All the variables are on one side, all the numbers are on the other, so we're not moving anybody, but I need the coefficient of x to be 1. Okay, so I'm going to divide 0.045. I'm going to divide 0.045. All right, so we're going to divide both sides by 0.045, and this is 1, right? Okay, because you're dividing this by itself. And now I'm going to remind you how to divide. This is 0.0, well, let me write it this way, just to remind you. Here we go, 18.045. Okay, now remember what to do here? You move the decimal to the end, so that's 1, 2, 3 places. So you're going to have to add 3 zeros. So what you really have, here you go, is 45, okay, divided into 18,000. And when you do this problem, you will get, I promise, 400. So x equals 400. Done deal. So 18 is 4.5% of 400. So 4.5% of 400 is 18. So if I take this times 400, I will get this. Okay? So that's how it works. That's it. We have one more to do. You ready? Here we go. Okay. If you notice the other two questions, and you can look at them up there, right, on your screen or in your workbook, you're always looking for a number. Here you're looking for a percent. So when you're done, you're going to have to change your answer to a percent. Be very, very careful. Almost nobody does that. Okay? Change your answer to percent when you're done. So here we go. 8 is what percent? I have no idea of 48. So really, this looks like this. 8 equals 48x. Now we can divide by 48. Good night. Divide by 48. You might want to reduce here. This is 1/6 equals x, but we want to change that to a percent. To change that to a percent, we're going to have to divide first, just like we did in the last lesson. So here we go. 1 divided by 6. 6 doesn't go into 1. Goes into 10 once. We get 4. Add a 0. 6 into 40 goes 6 times. We get 36. 4. Oh, here it goes again. 0. We get 6. So it's actually 0.166666. Okay. It doesn't tell us what to round, so I'm going to round. Well, here's the deal first. Let's change this to percent first. Let's change to percent. To change it to a percent, remember, decimal to percent, I have to move 2 places to the right because I'm multiplying by 100. So this is 16.66, da 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 da. Okay, if you want to go to the nearest percent, if you want to go to the nearest whole percent, here's my ones place. Look at this, raise it up, 17%. But it depends where you want to round to. But I would first change it to a percent and then do the rounding. Okay, it depends where you want to round. Didn't say, so I'm going to round to the nearest whole percent. So when solving for a percent, don't forget to multiply your answer by 100, which moves the decimal 2 places. So I got this to the right, so I have my percent. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Next time we meet, we're going to do solving different kinds of percent problems.